Hello everyone, it's Draken here, and today I'm going to be going over the units that I am currently building, or that I plan to build in the near future here, and my reasonings for it, as well as going over maybe one or two little things you might not know about getting the most out of your units. So to start with, currently I'm using Agrius in my team, along with Venera and Ketone for my threes battle, and the reasons for that are simply because they're the best units I currently have for this map. I was using Victoria for a little while last season, but currently she just doesn't have the survivability I need or the ability to engage. She can get somewhat close, but then she dies immediately, sometimes before she does anything. Ketone has the ability to at least buff Venera, giving her haste, and she has more than enough survivability, agility, speed, all that to get through it. I have my Ketone maxed out on her faith, or pretty close to max. I'll probably do another map or two to raise it all the way up. I believe 97 is the total cap you can get. And this is something that you might not know out there, and it is that you can only raise your faith up to 70 in the guild barracks. And then from there on, you have to go into battles and actually raise it up with abilities from your units. And I'll show you one of the best units to raise the faith of your characters. This will be easier. Just click on Earth. It is the Staff Mage here. I do not have her abilities that high yet, so whenever I do the battle or the map, it's normally a lower level map. Maybe like a story mission one that only costs 6, or one to gather some of these little bricks and stuff from the multi-quest chambers. But the ability you're looking for here is the faith raising ability, and it is all the way up here. So if you don't have her maxed, which you might not, I know I don't, just invite allies, one of your friends' units onto this map with you, and you want her just to go into the middle, and it hits basically all of your units, and you'll be raising your faith a little bit each battle, like maybe 5 to 6% for your whole party. So it's not a very fast process. Starting from 70, you can get up to 97. But it does make a very noticeable difference on your units. I didn't even realize that I had to do that to get fully upgraded. And then when I did that with my Agrius, she went from like 35% chance for her disabled to like 45% chance. So it made a large difference. And it also depends on what your opponent's faith is set as. If they have maximum faith and you have max faith, they're more likely to get affected by debuffs, and you're more likely to get affected by debuffs. So it is a bit of a double-edged sword there, because it will make you more susceptible to that, as well as raise the magic damage you take, but it will also increase the magic damage you take and the healing you take. So the higher you have of this value, the more you're affected by magic, and the more you affect others by magic and debuffs. It is a very important thing to know about, because it can make the difference. In these next several ranked battles, having her fully upgraded in faith and Ketone fully upgraded will most likely give me more stops, which are game changing once you land one of those and take one of their units out for 3 turns. My Venera, because I don't really have very many, I do not have her faith very high. It's at 63 right now. And if you want to get real technical, you can actually lower your bravery. Currently there isn't a setting in that for the barracks, but there are a couple abilities. I believe Chicken Blade is one of them. I think that might be a Spellblade's job. And you can hit your own units with it, and then at the end of the battle, whatever, they take a percentage of the changes and they adjust it onto your bravery. The other way to lower bravery so your tanks will take less damage is to take them into battle and kill them, and then end the battle by winning it or whatever. Because each time your unit is dead after a battle, and you can probably see it from one of my units that I have had just die multiple times over and over again. Probably one of my lower level ones. Actually, let's just take a look. We'll scroll through a couple of them. So right here, Katia, she has 16 bravery. I've had her on quests before, and then she just ends up getting killed in the auto run over and over and over again. And then her faith ends up being really, really low. And you can do that to some of your higher level units. It's just harder to do, it takes more time. But if you want to have the most out of your tank, you may very well want to actually kill the tank several times to lower that bravery. It is not a bad thing to do. It does reduce the damage you will do though, be aware of that, and your reactions will trigger less when you get hit. So I'm not too upset about Agrius having full bravery because her reaction ability just reduces damage on its own. If you don't have a reaction that reduces damage on a tank, it would be pretty surprising. I don't know which one wouldn't have that, but if they don't, you may want to just lower their bravery down to like 20 or something, if you are willing to put that much time and effort into it. So I will be just going through here, kind of highlighting some of the units. If you don't have them leveled up to max, such as Mont, he should realistically be one of your first level 99s for two reasons. One, all his shards, you can just buy them in the shop for gil. Fairly easy, fairly cheap, and pretty much very often he is in there. And second, his TMR is one of the better ones in the game. I really should be leveling it up, getting it up to 20 and using it somewhat more. But right now I do have other TMRs that I value a little bit more. But the rallying cry hits pretty much your whole party, raises their agility up, and agility is one of the biggest things that you want to have on a team, and this ability is actually stackable up to 2 times. There are not very many agility buffs that stack, so this one here, if you can get 2 turns for it, you may very well have an advantage over your enemy's team. And he's a fairly good character too, plus he'll be one of the first mythic rares to have a level 120 cap increase, so that's even more of a reason to get him up to 99. The next one, of course, is Zyza. You very rarely will see her used in matches, however, everybody values raising her up all the way, and everyone will tell you just keep re-rolling until you get Zyza if you're starting a new account simply for these illusory bells. And I actually do have this revitalized maxed. I guess it doesn't show me the level when I'm looking at the character, so I probably do have Mons leveled up at least to 10 out of 20. I believe I have this one 17 out of 20, and I find that's a good amount for right now. I don't get into too many battles where I need more AP than that. But this Revitalize, it bestows AP auto restore on self for 3 turns, and it restores a large amount of your AP each turn. Now, the second part of why this bell is so highly sought after, it gives 7 agility, which is a large increase to your agility, and 8 defense, 14 accuracy. The hit point is negligible. It's not that much, but the accuracy is a pretty high amount, and the defense is a pretty decent amount. It's pretty standard for some armors that focus on having 8 defense and 8 spirit. So you can easily get that defense from somewhere else, but getting it from this bell isn't bad either. The agility, big thing, and the revitalize, the biggest part of it. So everyone will tell you to get Zyza just for her bells, and you will often see in raids, if you don't have Zyza or the bell equipped, they're going to just probably kick you. It's unfortunate, but that's how they treat you. You either have a bell or you're a basic second-class citizen in this game. Now, Medina, I would recommend leveling her up because she is one of the best farmers still in the game for the matches because of her ultimate Cosmo Plume, hits a huge area, does a lot of damage, lowers ice resist, and her Trustmaster is pretty decent. The stats on it aren't really anything too crazy. 10 Spirit is nice. The Luna Verse, though, is really nice. It raises your acquired AP, which, if you don't have the bells or you have this on a different unit, this is pretty decent. And attack and magic of all units within self around for 3 turns. And it's a large area, so it's easy to hit your whole team. And the attack and magic buff is a good amount. So I would definitely look into That because her shards are also in the... I believe it's... I'm not sure which shop it is right now. But I think it might be the guild metal shop along with some of the espers. You can get her shards from there. So her shards aren't hard to come by right now. Plus, I believe she has a bingo board up permanently to help anyone who's starting out get a bunch of her shards. So she is also a free character on that bingo board. It guarantees her, I believe. So there's no reason you should be, worried about getting her shards up, building her up. She could be maybe your first ultra rare 99 because of how easy it is to start with getting her. And then you can just start doing her missions, buy them out of the metal shops, and it should be easy enough to get her all the way up in a couple months if you're free to play. Now, some of the other units I have recommended right here. Naya, probably saying that wrong, but anyways, her Trustmaster, it's not good right now. However, with Titus coming out, it may be more useful when he comes out, because at that point, anything that can stack water attack resist will probably be pretty good, because you will see a lot of water-only teams with the new water cards and the water units. Because with the Final Fantasy X banner, there are 2 specific water-based vision cards that just give huge buffs to the whole water team that you're building. So this will be useful later on. Right now, it's not so useful. You don't see very many water units out there. Maybe Glacial. And she's fairly easy to awaken and max limit break because they have given us those shards. That's why I am now recommending some super rare and mythic rares. Before I wouldn't, because the rainbow shards were very hard to come by. Now they handed them out to us. But I also recommend building Naya for the simple reason she is a strong healer if you do not have Ayaka up there, and she does have the full life ability, which will be very useful in a Dungeon of the Deep. I'd say she is definitely not very useful in the PvP aspect. However, in the Deep Dungeon, she can be useful. She has Curaga, and I believe she has Curada as well. She has actually several healing, and then full life, which will definitely help you. It's a one-use type spell, so I recommend maxing her faith so it's more likely to hit. But she also has the regular raise as well, which you can attempt to use 2 times. And if you have faith up, your chance to cast those will succeed more often. I believe I have recently raised her faith a bit above the 70, and I think that took me like 4 or 5 battles to get up to 89. I'll eventually get her up to 99. I'm not in too much of a rush to get her fully maxed out, but she is definitely one of the ones I am leveling up simply for the Deep Dungeon. She'll be one of the healers in my 5-person party. Another one to kind of consider once they give us the normal rarities is actually Zazan, just for his ability Steel Heart, which could turn an enemy against themselves. I believe Steel Heart is over here. So I wouldn't worry about maxing him out though right away. He's again, I would say, more useful in the Deep Dungeon. But if you are running a full Steel Heart team, just for fun, he is an easy enough one to build because you can easily get him. The difficulty, of course, is he's a normal rarity. His stats are pretty garbage, and he will die super easy against any ultra rare who comes at him. Phoebe is always a good unit to get up there. She is a strong time mage. She has the quicken ability. And again, with the fact that they've introduced, I can actually show you here, these gems, the gold imbued fragments of thoughts, they will eventually hand out more. I'll probably level her up after I level up 1 or 2 other super rares, or maybe I'll level her up. The nice thing is she has the light attack resist up, and again that will be more useful when the Final Fantasy X banner comes out, because again anything that stacks light resist will be handy for the very reason Yuna is going to be very strong and slightly overpowered. And if you're needing dark resist currently and you haven't spent your super rare shards yet, or your awakening material, you might want to consider little Leyla. because she does give the dark resist up 10. The defense isn't the best, the hit point isn't the best, and the magic is, it's a small amount really, but it can be equipped by basically anyone and everyone. So you can throw it on whoever you need to. In fact, yeah, it's even equipable by your tanks, which is who you would probably want the dark resist up on to deal with those Kanes, Sterns, and, you know, Dwaynes. So think about maybe investing in that. I have her leveled up because she was one of the first super rare units I had, so I kind of put some time and effort into her, not a huge amount. I basically stopped on most of these units around the last one because it took so many rainbow fragments, and I do have regrets because those two cost me rainbow fragments to get them up to on a lot of my super rare and mythic rare units, which I no longer need the rainbow shards for. A rare unit to consider leveling up, and it's not because of her Trust Master, is Leyla, because she will be one of the first rare units that will have the 120 mark, and they haven't handed us out any of these stones yet. However, I believe they will right away. So we will be able to just awaken her for basically free, as long as you have the other materials you need, and personally I haven't had a lot of lightning units, so I probably can afford to level up 1 or 2. Lucia here, always a good one to level up. I'm leveling her up for 2 separate reasons. One, because of the upcoming raid where I will need gunners, so definitely recommend leveling her up. I'm probably only going to get her 4 out of 5 limit break because I'm not spending any viz on it, I'm just doing the daily missions. And maybe I'll spend a little bit of viz to make sure I get her to 4 out of 5. But her boots are actually a pretty solid item. The 10 evade is really nice on an evasion team, and the 7 agility is, you know, it's one of the highest you can get for agility up. It matches some of the other items that are, you know, very desirable for their agility. But limiter off is a really good one, especially if you are using gunners, because it raises your range by 1. And it gives you more agility, which means even more than the 7 the item says it gives you a bunch on top of that. So easily makes you faster than your enemy, and in this game, acting before an enemy acts, hitting them first, and then they hit you, as long as you can survive that one hit and you can 2-shot them. With most gunners, you should be able to 2-shot somebody. It shouldn't be much of an issue to get through. Now, Valed, probably saying that wrong as well, super rare character. I was actually looking at his Trustmaster and I was surprised. It gives you a good amount of slash resist, pierce resist, strike resist, and missile resist for a super rare, and the defense and spirit are actually a decent amount. It's nothing like to just say oh my god about, but the hit point is pretty low. This is a standard amount on several pieces of armor that you would try to raise up and maybe not even get them all the way up. And the resistances are where it's really at. Like the 5% to everything is pretty decent, except for magic. That's the only thing it doesn't raise, but in most cases you're not going to be worried about the strike. Slashing and the pierce right now are very nice, and the missile attack is very nice. So he's a super rare to consider leveling up if you have him kind of most of the way there, and they do give you the, you know, awakening material for him. Think about maybe doing that if you need some more of the slashing and regular resist, and you don't have a good piece of armor. Because when you're first starting out, sometimes you don't have any good armor, and it does take a while to build up a +5 version of anything, really. So this is a piece of armor, very easy to get. You can equip it on pretty much most of your units, even assassins, basically all your more lightweight units, not really your tanks. Which is actually kind of nice, because then you can make sure your assassin survives as they run in and try to kill somebody. Balio is one of those units. 2 reasons to actually think about leveling him up. He'll be one of the first ones as well to get the level 120 increase. I don't know why they picked him and Leyla as the first few, but maybe it's just because they're earlier characters. They're some of the first ones released. And his actual TMR here, sleep resist up 25, will be incredibly useful for units that do not have sleep resistance going into the Siren raid. Because that raid will be coming up right away here, and you'll want some kind of protection. This armor will help those units not fall asleep and miss their turn, and maybe ruin the current run you're doing on that. This is the perfect kind of item to throw onto a Sid or someone who does not have the sleep resist. I believe Sid doesn't. I could be wrong about that. But there are several units that don't have sleep resist, and his giant piece of armor will help them gain that. I wouldn't really say any of his abilities are super amazing, but that's still yet to be seen what he'll have at level 120. It could very well be that he gets a few really good abilities added to his kit. And Rain I am leveling up as well, just because he's a fire unit and he'll be useful in the Glacial raid, but he's going to be a slow level. I don't need to rush about that. Siren raid's coming out before the Glacial raid is. Or Glacial. Now, Alim, I was actually hoping we would be getting her shards for free from the missions, which, I mean, we are, but I meant like more like, you know, Gafgarian or Tyrell, how their missions just could be repeated over and over and you'd collect a ton of their shards. I even awoke her most of the way before I realized that I couldn't collect her shards over and over from the missions. However, her TMR is really useful because it adds the defense pierce rate up. Any of your older Lancers that don't have defense pierce up, they can use this on them to help give them that. It's still not going to be as good as a +5 Ice Lance for Victoria though. However, it might be good on someone else like old Leod if you don't have a good lance for him. The defense pierce rate up adds a little bit something to him to get through those tanks. And her abilities aren't that bad. Going into the Siren raid, Siren is weak to gunner classes, any missile type classes, and she is weak to lightning. So if you do manage to get her fully up before Siren comes out, you can use her in that raid as maybe one of your 3 or 4, third or fourth unit that you're going to be using in it. Just as a solo party, she could be included. I don't really believe when you're doing the raid on the 4-player multiplayer that you will see her a lot, unless there are people running a 4-person Alim piercing, which maybe they will. Adelard is one of the ones I have highlighted. I believe it's because his Vermilion Sword gives, magic attack up 15. I believe most of these items should just include that kind of a bonus because almost all the +5s do have slash attack up 15 or ice attack up, 15. They have those already on them, so this does make it a more viable option. I don't really like most of the debuff weapons because the chance of actually getting them not so high, and you're not going to be trying to use auto attacks. You're going to be trying to use your buffs to buff yourself up to build up to your main attacks in the battles that you're doing in the PvP, right? The stats aren't too bad considering it is mostly 4 magic swordsmen. The 96 magic, it's halfway decent. 82 attack, it's okay. It's not the highest, but it's certainly not bad. And if you don't have a weapon, this will be a decent one for any of your magic swordsmen that you have out there. Now, despite not liking Masherhorn at all for her abilities, her Trustmaster, if you already have her most of the way up, is a very good Trustmaster reward. The stats on it are, all around, they're not bad, but the Knight's Blessing is really good. The restores hit point medium, decent, and then the barrier on allies within range that reduces damage 3 times is a wonderful item. Plus the amount of TP it gives on someone like Victoria or anyone else who has survivability issues and does not have the ability to build TP. This helps your whole team survive. helps you build up that AP that you're going to need to do your damage, do your attacks. So she is definitely someone to consider leveling, just for her TMR, not really even to use her. You might want to use her. She might be the character you really like. Another person to level, and for 2 reasons. She is just very useful. She's the best healer in the game. She has a lot of support abilities, and she even has the green mage abilities, which are very handy. She's probably the best support in the game currently. And her TMR is also a really, really good TMR. It adds agility, always highly sought after by anybody because of how strong it is. And the Purify, which again, it applies a barrier for 3 turns to reduce all damage. The effects here, you probably won't be using it on them for this reason here. You'll probably be throwing the barrier on first thing to get that TP built up, to get that barrier to reduce the damage on the initial hits so your guys will survive guaranteed for 2 attacks, right? That's the main goal you should be trying, is to get all of your units to survive for at least 2 attacks. The last thing you want is any of your units being one-shotted. And that can happen on some of your squishier units, so you're going to want to find items like this that provide those barriers that reduce damage by 25% for 3 turns, fully upgraded. And Glacial is one of the ones that I have on the list to level up for 2 reasons. She's going to be in my party, actually for 3 reasons really. She's going to be in my water party for sure. I like her abilities, she's very strong, and she has a very good TMR, and I mean very good. It's one of the few best, because it does also give you AP recovery, which that is the most sought after in the game, because that lets you do all your damage, all your abilities. Without that, all your attack units besides mages are pretty useless and weak. So you want high AP restoring abilities or items that do it, and this also raises slash resist for 3 turns, which is huge right now because slash is the most dominant attack type in this game. It's the one you see most often. The spirit resist isn't much, but you know what? Anything's better than nothing. Defense, pretty decent, and hit point also not bad at all. So the stats on the armor is good, and the AP recovery, huge bonus. She's a good unit all around as well. She's also a Lancer, which you don't see very many of those, and piercing is strong against a lot of tanks. Not that we need to really worry about tanks right now with how many units have defense penetration. Frederica, if you have her most of the way leveled up, I would go ahead and just get her, focus on getting her to 99 for the Siren Raid. She's your number 2 unit. You won't get kicked from any of the solo queues if you have her leveled up. If you can get him free from his pulls, I would. Otherwise, I would recommend staying away from him. He's not as strong as any of the other double cost units currently. Even with his buff, he still kind of falls short compared to the other double cost units. And even just the single cost Kane, they outdamage him and outclass him currently. He may later get more buffs though, because they might try to buff the older units to make them more, meta relevant again. Now Shultz, since they are handing us out the mythic rare upgrade materials, I would recommend trying to level him up, because he can be useful as a tank and ranger in the upcoming raid. His TMR isn't anything great, it's not bad. If you don't have a greatsword, I don't know if I do. I don't have a +5 greatsword for sure, I know that much. It would be okay just for the attack it gives. However, it would be easily replaced. Any of these items that do normally grant these abilities, they aren't the highest to hit, because normally your faith isn't very high on your tanks because you want them to survive those magic hits. Now I can actually limit break Thancred, but I'm saving my Rainbow Spears for a unit I actually care about. I would have considered getting Thancred if I had gotten more of his shards. mythic rare character here. Shell, very, very strong Trust Master. And she's not a bad support. She has the Green Mage and Time Mage abilities, which are very handy. Vitalize is a very strong Green Mage ability that raises your agility. And if you do have a certain ability equipped, it will actually last 4 turns instead of 3 for any buffs that your Green Mage casts, which makes it last 1 turn longer than Haste would. And because it is raising your agility and not your CT gain, it will actually increase your dodging ability with a dodge character, so she is a good support to have if you have 2 dodge units and you're looking for somebody who's fairly easy to get up, level up. It might be harder to get her shards because she is not on any of the current banners, but if you do have her high up, she could be a good 3rd person for your team. Her mage staff is, I honestly think, one of the best Trust Masters here currently, and we'll probably see more like this, where they have magic attack up already on it. So a +5 one would have about magic attack up 15. So that's only 5 off, and trust me, the amount of work you have to put in to get a +5 staff, this is an amazing magic staff right here. The spirit piercing rate up, that's like really, really huge right there. There's not too many units that have high amounts of spirit, but this will get through a good chunk of it, as well as, you know, the magic attack up already being on this staff. A huge, huge one. And I'm sure we'll see more weapons like this that come out, and they'll just have, say, a 10% magic up, because that makes them more comparable to the +5 weapons. I would say this would be about the equivalent of, say, a +4, you know, magic staff, really. But then again, some magic staffs don't, you know, I would say it'd be about close to a +5 platinum staff just because of that. It has a lower base magic though, so it's going to do less damage. However, the magic pen and the magic up on it are very good to have. So definitely consider leveling her up. No, I don't think I have very many more. So I didn't realize Lilith's flame sword did actually have flame attack up 15, and it is a great sword, which, like I said, I have none, so I might consider leveling her up just to get this. Any great sword users that come out that are going to be fired, it would be good just to have a weapon that I can throw onto them while I farm their current weapon. So it's not a bad one to have. She does have the Ranger subclass, but Fire type isn't going to be good against Siren. I'm not rushing to level her up, but she's more valuable to me than some of the other mythic rares that I just don't see the use of their weapons. Ravenessa here. Why did I have her favorited? Wasn't because of this, but evade +10 isn't exactly something you're going to want on a unit. Maybe that was just a misclick on my part. I mean, she's a good tank, but she's not really one I'm going to be focusing on leveling up. Oh, it's probably because she's lightning element. By the way, just so you all know, there will be a patch coming out where they're adding elemental masteries. So, based on how many units you have leveled, you'll get experience towards one of your elements. So, the levels go up to about 20 on each, and the highest I think we can get right now is maybe up to close to the halfway point, or a little bit over halfway, with the dark units, which they have the most of those out right now. But each level you have is working towards 1 experience. It takes a lot of experience to level it up, and it'll just give you small little bonuses like 1% more attack, 2% more magic, that kind of stuff. And it's just to kind of help people, you know, level up all their units. I kind of feel like it's a system we didn't really need added into this, because the masteries are just gonna create a little bit more of a divide. It's not a huge increase though, so the most you'll be seeing is 2 or 3% more damage on the whale side of things. However, that's 2 or 3% that free-to-player players did not really need. We don't need to try to get all of our units up to level 99, or specifically all of our ice or water units up. So I did recommend him, just Kuri for his bow. However, it is ice attack up, and then later I looked and saw that he is the only ice archer. The attack up isn't very much, but it never is with these. The crit 18 is actually pretty nice. That is a decent amount. The ice attack 15 is also a decent amount of an increase. However, if you have leveled up the killer bow or any other bow, those will be more useful on 90% of your archers than this one will be. But if they do release a new ice unit, keep in mind his bow is not a bad item to get. One to definitely focus on leveling up if you can. Do her daily ultra rare shard quest, because her apron is one of those 3 just amazing items that gives AP auto restore on self for 3 turns and raises your defense piercing rate. So that gives access to any units who don't have defense piercing. It gives them the defense piercing stat, and it does have the auto AP restore, so I would say this is even better than the bells for that reason. It doesn't add the agility, but at the same time, you can't have everything on every artifact that you get. Accuracy up 12, crit up 9, hit point, it's an okay amount. The big thing is the ability. You want that, and that's the whole reason you want her leveled up. She is also a very strong unit, so it wouldn't be bad to level her up and awaken her just to get her and use her as a unit. And she will have, I believe, she's going to be one of the first ultra rares. She's included, I believe, in the first set to go to level 120. So leveling her up now, getting her up there, she's going to be very relevant coming up in PvP. You'll probably see her a lot. For any of the people who have had her at 99, we'll be focusing on getting her up to 120. Oh, here is the last one I kind of have recommended as a potential unit to start building. He's a lightning unit, so he could be useful in a slashing composition against the Siren. His katana is nothing to really brag about. It's not great. Man-eater up. It's okay if you don't have a katana for a samurai, but everything else is kind of... The evade 9 is actually a pretty decent amount for a weapon to have, but overall I wouldn't recommend maxing him out just for his TMR. Level him up if you want. He will be getting a special vision card just for him and the fire guy. What's his pickle? Right here, this guy. Seymour and O will be getting vision cards that will add piercing to their attacks and give them a large little buff, so they could be more useful later on in raids and deep dungeon just because of the fact that they will get those cards. So just a quick little thing about the masteries. This is basically how you would calculate how much fire mastery experience you would have. You just add everybody's level together and then you'd have, 300 EXP towards it. Say that would give you like level 5 fire mastery. And you would just continue raising it by raising the levels of everybody. Of course, for people who can afford to max level 99 all their units all the time, that will give them a little bit more of a, buff or bonus to those units they already have high up there and have raised. So I don't really think it's the best system they're implementing. But it is one that is going to make more people more likely to spend and level their lower level units and get, say, this ultra rare guy. They'll be more likely to use the rainbow shards and rainbow spears just to level them up, just to get that little bit of an extra 1% attack, which it's not a huge amount, so it's not going to be game breaking, it's not going to be hugely noticeable, but it does encourage us to spend more money on a game we're not really, needing to spend more money on, because we have already probably put a lot of money into it. I know I've put way more money into this gacha game than I have ever wanted to. So that's my video on what I'm going to be doing next here with my units. As for vision cards, I'm kind of just saving up on that. I have a couple that I can level up more here. This one's definitely going to be used for my ice team, because it will be getting the ice bonus later on. And I actually didn't really level this one up much. I may level it up more now because it's getting the cast time reduction, which could be okay for Sakura because she does use casting time. I, however, have kind of avoided leveling it up because I didn't like the new cast time ability it does get, but since it's getting it, I might make use of it. And currently I just have my evasion team going. Ifrit, I'm debating whether to raise him up all the way because I already have these 2 cards in my evasion team. I could go with these 3, have high attack and high evasion, and that might be what I do. I'll kind of be debating and seeing how things go from here, because I will be able to get Shiva all the way just from the daily guild medals. I'll slowly be getting her up. Another big factor, of course, is I do not have the Rainbow Vision Spears to level up half these vision cards. I may have enough medals for some of them, but I do not have the spears. And those are becoming a little bit of a problem to get for me, because I'm not willing to invest money into it. Well, that's my video, guys. So hopefully it gave you kind of an idea of maybe some units you want to build. You know, if you do have any other units you're building and your reason why, please leave it down in the comments section of this video. And if you like the video, like, subscribe, and watch my next one. Thanks, guys. See you later.